Jason has been gambling all week, and after taking some losses, he's found himself in a bit of a debt that he needs to cover by Monday, or he's going to be overdrafting his bank account. He tells himself this isn't a problem because he still has the entire Sunday NFL slate to win his money back. He spends the whole day gambling and actually ends up making his debts a lot worse. Leo used to gamble just like Jason not too long ago. However, after he would have weeks just like that where he would try to get out of gambling debt by gambling more, he realized that it was just going to make things worse. Leo left gambling behind because he recognizes that when he starts gambling, he doesn't stop until he's exhausted all possible resources to continue. He's choosing peace over chaos. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that affects many people around the world in a very negative way: gambling as a solution to financial problems. Have you ever found yourself in a tight financial spot and considered gambling as a way out? Well, if yes, you're not alone. In fact, I was doing that for years. My name is Rob, and I'm a recovering compulsive gambler. I made my last bet on November the 12th of 2022, and since then, I've made it my personal mission to help those of you who are struggling with a gambling addiction to get into recovery faster than I did. If that's of interest to you, please smash that subscribe button and stay up to date on the content that I release here. Let's start by understanding the motivation behind gambling to solve financial problems. It's crucial to recognize why people might resort to such a risky strategy in the first place. I understand it. You dig yourself into a hole quickly, and you want to be back out of that hole as quickly as possible. In the mind of a problem gambler, gambling is by far the fastest and most efficient way to get money. The only caveat is that it's one of the only ways of earning money where you can make things significantly worse along the way. Where Jason sees only one way out of a bad financial situation, placing a bet to win that exact amount of money that he's down, Leo knows that if he were to place a bet to try to cover debts that he has, he could literally double his debt, or even worse. And something that was manageable before could result in months of extra work to pay off after his bet loses. Gambling is a risk. It is, no pun intended, a gamble. If you develop a neurological dependency on gambling the way that I did and other gambling addicts do, there are many negative consequences that will come along with that. The consequences aren't just limited to financial ones, but there are certainly some major financial consequences, including debt spirals, bankruptcy, and the long-term devaluation of money in your mind. Someone who is hooked to gambling can often forget how long they had to work for their money because of the speed by which they could theoretically double their bet. The only problem with that is that more often than not, they will lose their money. And if their mindset is that the only way to get it back is to keep gambling, it will create a cycle where we continuously ruin ourselves financially. And remember that gambling doesn't just affect your wallet, it can take a significant toll on your mental health. Problem gambling can lead to addiction, anxiety, and depression, as gambling becomes the only thing that can give your brain that hit of dopamine and pleasure that it needs to feel normal. While Jason will bet $100 on every game he can during the Sunday football slate and then sit there all day riding an emotional roller coaster to find out if he's broke or not, Leo recognizes that it can take him hours to earn even that $100 and that wasting it on the chance of winning more is not worth working for free for the next few days to pay down the loss. He spends his Sunday watching his favorite movies and hanging out with his friends instead, being happy with what he does have. Fortunately, there are alternative strategies to address financial difficulties that don't involve the high risks associated with gambling. Recovering from a gambling addiction while managing existing debts can be a challenging journey, but with discipline and a well thought out financial plan, you can regain control of your finances and build a more stable future. Start by creating a detailed budget that outlines your monthly income and expenses. Identify areas where you can cut back on discretionary spending and allocate more towards debt repayment. Having a clear budget will help you to track your progress and avoid impulsive spending. List your debts in order of interest rate or size and focus on paying off high interest debts first. Consider consolidating your debts into a lower interest loan if possible, but of course consult a professional before doing any of this. Make regular on-time payments to avoid late fees and penalties. As you pay down your debts, the sense of accomplishment can be a really powerful motivator in your recovery journey. And of course, this will feel like it's happening very slowly and can lead to frustration that you can't just put one bet in to win it all back at once. But this method will ensure that you don't make things even worse, which again will happen more often than not. While Jason sees his mounting debts and thinks he can't spend another second in debt, so he takes out a loan to place a huge sports bet, Leo knows that though his debts feel a bit overwhelming, there are people out there that can explain a pathway to repayment to him that doesn't involve the chance of making things worse. He seeks out their guidance and begins to rebuild his life. Another thing that's really important in recovering from a gambling addiction is dealing with urges to go back to the bet when times get tough. That can happen because of financial difficulties as well. That's why I made this video about overcoming those urges to stay on the path to recovery. Before we go, I want to hear from you. Have you or someone you know experienced the urge to gamble when facing financial difficulties? Share your thoughts and experiences down below in the comments because I'm really interested to hear if I was the only one that thought this way. Let's support one another and spread awareness about the risks of gambling and gambling addiction. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone else out there who you think might benefit from what we talked about today. Remember, there's hope and there are better ways to overcome financial challenges that don't involve the risk of things getting exponentially worse. Let's keep living better lives one day at a time.